Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Sacktown Movie Buffs. I'm Kier, and this is Jason. And we do apologize if you're watching our last video that we just did and you couldn't hear me before. I guess there were some issues with the audio, so we're going to be doing this video once again. Today's discussion will be our top 5 bags of money films. So that's what we'll be getting into today. And if you guys don't know what a bag of money film is, we are going to clarify that for you. And I was going to kick it over to Jason and have him start it off and let us know kind of what a bag of money film means to him. But first, if you just want to give us an update on kind of how you've been doing with this coronavirus quarantine situation lately.
Oh, I've been doing fine. Nothing has changed since last week, really. Just continuing to get better at working from home, because that was quite an adjustment for me. But I feel like I'm getting it down. But everyone I know is still safe and healthy, which is the most important thing. And I've got a job, which I'm thankful for. But everything's good.
Well, good.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, same here. Like I said, it was an adjustment for me. I may have been working from home. I don't know if I've been doing it longer than you have, but it was, back around the, 17th of March or somewhere around there, that I started first working from home, primarily full time. I've gotten adjusted to it. It's actually going to be probably weird now when I actually do have to go back into the office.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get used to it. It's gonna suck going back. Actually, now that I'm good.
Yeah, I have to actually get up earlier and
I know.
I shower and stuff anyways. I try to keep myself in the same routines that I do.
Yeah.
So I still get up, I still go work out, I still shower. I try to keep the same routines, just keep that habit. That way it won't be too awkward. I am getting up later though now. I get up.
Yeah, me too.
I sleep in like an extra half hour or something like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's really been about the only major change or thing that I'm gonna have to get used to. Is just getting back up a half hour earlier again. So but we'll figure that out when it comes. And like I said, once again, I'm just still happy to be working. I just read the jobs report, and there's another 5 million people that applied for unemployment, I guess. So it's still kind of crazy right now, and I really do hope that this whole situation's over real soon. So
for a lot of reasons.
There's stimulus money coming, I guess, and unemployment and that sort of stuff. So hopefully that helps to make ends meet for everybody, and we hope we're an escapism from all those problems, so it won't be a downer for the rest of the show. But yeah, just we're hoping this thing's over soon for everybody. So.
Yes.
All right.
So, bags of money movies. Okay.
Yeah, let's get into
it. This has always been one of my favorite. I don't know if you would call it a subgenre necessarily. Maybe more of a theme or whatnot, but there are a lot of movies. I started to notice several years ago there are a lot of movies that I love that revolve around like in most cases, a literal bag full of money. In some cases, it's diamonds or it's gold or it's drugs or whatever. But one of the things that drive the plot forward is a bag full of money or some kind of currency or something. And I wrote down a few common themes. They usually involve crime in some sort, obviously, because nobody just comes across a big bag full of money or drugs or diamonds or gold without some kind of crime being involved. And one of my favorite things is they always involve like a test of morality to the characters, which is ultimately failed usually, because it's about in a lot of cases it's about people who think they are think they're normal, decent, moral people, upstanding people. Like you or I might, we might think that if we find a big bag of money that nobody's around to claim, that we would turn it in, of course. Maybe we would, but these movies are usually about people who also thought that and then end up not doing that. So I like that kind of morality test in a movie. Those are a lot of the things that I like about those kind of movies.
I agree. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It is definitely one of the kind of movies that, it's always, most of them are like, what would you do if you had a bag of money? Not all of the movies on our list will fall into that category, but a lot of them do, like, especially the found bags of money and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it definitely changes people. People that, like you said, normally wouldn't do shady or nefarious things. They find a huge chunk of money, or they need a huge chunk of money, or whatever case may be, whatever conflict they're going through, it'll definitely make you do some things that you wouldn't ordinarily do. And most of those things are not wise decisions. And I think that that's kind of what a lot of these movies that are going to be on both of our lists are probably going to center around, is people making poor choices and bad decisions and that sort of stuff, and watching people that maybe be without the money they would have been good people, but with the money they definitely become villains, or get involved in situations that they don't want to be involved in because of the money. So
yeah, and it's about they're about greed, and
yeah, exactly.
Greed,
I think that's
unlike what Michael Douglas says in Wall Street, greed is not good. So
no, absolutely.
Yeah, and also there's also the ones, I like the ones where people just kind of stumble upon the money, but I also like there's also the ones where the most of the people in the movie are already criminals or bad people.
Right.
They know they're going for it, but it's still like the driving factor is that like the struggle over the money or whatever that moves it forward. So I just like those kind of power struggles, morality struggles, all that stuff. So
I agree. Yeah, it's kind of going to be I think a mixed bag of films where you're going to have
we both have both, basically.
All that roll into one. All right, well, awesome. Well, with that said, then let's get into it, man. Let's go start off with your number 5.
Okay. My number 5 of my top 5 bag of money movies is Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So this one, it might be a little bit of a surprise to people. I don't think a lot of people consider it a bag of money movie, because most people remember the shower scene, the Bates Motel stuff. But what actually kicks off that story is a bag of money. And how the movie begins is that Janet Leigh's character, Marion Crane, is, again, like she is a normal person for the most part. She probably woke up that morning thinking that she was an upstanding person, but her boss gives her the task of taking this deposit money to the bank, and somewhere along the way she decides that she'd rather drive away with the deposit bag full of money. So that's what kicks off the story, is that kind of morality struggle, or not much of a struggle really. She doesn't really struggle with it too much, I don't think, until she gets there actually. But then she gets to the Bates Motel, and ultimately she decides that she's going to go back and do the right thing and turn herself in. But of course, by that point, it's too late because she's already met Norman Bates. And also, this movie, I like the irony of the fact that, and some of the other movies on this list are like that, but the money starts off the plot, but ultimately nobody gets it. Right. Because it just ends up being in the trunk of the car that Norman sinks into the swamp, not even realizing it's there. So all of that over money that nobody even got ultimately. So that's a little bit of an unconventional choice, but I stand by it. That's my number 5 bag of money movie.
Perfect. Yeah. It's definitely an unconventional choice in the sense that it's a classic. I think everybody more or less has seen Psycho, or at least heard of it. If you're a cinephile or into film, you would have come across Psycho at some point, and hopefully not the really terrible remake that was produced back in the 90s.
It wasn't that bad.
I didn't like that. It is a film that initially I don't think of as a bag of money movie, just from my recollection, and I haven't seen it in many years. But you were explaining it to me, then I did remember that is definitely a part of the film. It's just not the focal point, so sometimes it I didn't necessarily think about it being a bag of money movie, but it's a great film, and definitely one that essentially is a good one to kick us off in terms of a top 5 bag of money movie. Definitely one you should check out, especially if you don't remember the bag of money element in it. You should probably check it out. So,
that is what starts the plot into motion.
That is true. That's a very good factor. My number 5, I actually don't own it any longer. I used to own it about several years ago. I had a storage unit. I had some stuff in storage. I had a few films that were in there. Well, not a few, a couple hundred actually, and they were stolen out of that storage unit. And this was one of the ones that was stolen out of my storage unit, so I don't own it, unfortunately. But my number 5 is actually going to be Knockaround Guys. It's a movie that most people have never seen or maybe never heard of. It wasn't a big hit. It didn't get very good reviews. I doubt it played very long in theaters. But the general plot of it is it stars Barry Pepper, and he is son of a big-time mobster. His father, who in this case is actually Dennis Hopper, a great actor, and Barry Pepper's character has basically been kind of shunned away from the mobster life because he was thought to be kind of like soft or weak and not up to task in order to do the things that mobsters do, killing people and that sort of stuff. He does want to kind of get back into the fold, and so he encourages his father, and then his father's right hand man, who in this case is also is John Malkovich, is also in the film, that that he wants to be able to help them in some kind of way and do a job. So they offer him or give him the opportunity to basically go collect some money from another mobster in another state, who he then uses another friend who has a plane. Seth Green in this case has a plane to go pick up the money. Seth ends up landing and taking a pit stop in some small town in the Midwest and ends up losing the bag of money. So the central plot of the film is basically Barry Pepper and all of his friends have to go basically to the small town to find out who took the money and how they can get the money back. And it's just like one of those films where everybody's just kind of like looking for this money. The mobsters look for the money. The mobsters' kids are looking for the money. There's town people that, are trying to get their hands on it as well. And so it's just a really, really good, interesting dynamic. It's got a lot of humor in it. It's funny in parts. It's got some action in there, a little bit of suspense here and there. And like I said, it's not a movie that got good reviews, and it's not a movie that I'm saying, it's really highbrow or anything like that. It's definitely just a good way to pass time, and for me, it's a great bag of money movie, and it definitely is a movie that centers solely around a bag of money. So
yeah, it's not on my list, but I do think it's an underrated movie for sure.
Yeah.
Like I remember when it came out, it kind of came and went in 5 minutes, and the reviews were bad. I don't even remember what made me go see it, because I think I was back when I went to see like literally every movie that came out back then. But if it came out now and it had a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes or something, like I think it does, and it's got a good cast, but Dennis Hopper and John Malkovich have done their share of turkeys, so they probably wouldn't have gotten me in there by themselves. I probably would have not even seen it, but it's a pretty good movie. It's got a surprising number of layers to it. It's a lot of fun. It's not trying to be a great movie. It's just a good, solid movie that might be better than you expect if you've never seen it.
I agree. No, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Number 4 for me is Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown. That's my number 4 bag of money movie. This is once again, it involves a literal duffel bag full of cash. In fact, if I remember right, one of the teaser posters for it was, the Jackie Brown logo up top and just a giant duffel bag with money spilling out and a gun on top, if I remember properly. And I remember looking at that poster and thinking that's going to be a good movie. On top of the fact that it was Quentin Tarantino, of course, who I'm a huge fan of. But yeah, it's another movie where in this case it's a lot of people who are varying degrees of shady, I would say, and ultimately you're wondering who's going to walk away with that money. And it's a great movie. I don't want to go into it too much. There's a lot of twists and turns, but it's got a great cast: Samuel L. Jackson, Pam Grier, of course, Robert Forster. It's probably my favorite Robert Forster role ever. Robert De Niro, Bridget Fonda, who actually shows up later on my list now that I think about it. It's just a great movie all around. One of my all-time favorites.
Absolutely. It's one of my all-time favorite movies as well. It actually appears a little further up my list as well. I'm a huge Tarantino fan. He's my favorite director. This one's definitely in my top, 50 films of all time. So yeah, I love it. It's definitely a bag of money movie. In the sense that there is a little bag of money. It comes in the latter half of the film, but it's great. Everybody in there is really, really good. Pam Grier is good. Samuel Jackson's really good in there. Pretty much everybody in this film is just, brought their A game for this film, and I love it. It's like one of those films that I feel like I get a little little extra little piece every time I watch it. You know what I mean? It's like one of those films that are like, oh, I didn't even notice that the last time, or I didn't notice that this was going on the last time, or so it's just a really really fun film. It's great, and I don't know. I feel like it's one of his I don't want to say lightest films, but probably one of the easiest going films you can watch of his. I feel like where it's not really it's not overly violent or overly gory or overly graphic in that sense. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a film that you might even be able to watch with your mom or something like it. You know what I mean? Versus some of his other films. Yeah, well, some of his other films you may feel a little bit more uncomfortable with it in some instances or points or whatever. So, but yeah, no, it's a great film, and like I said, I love it. So
yeah, it's like you mentioned, it's probably the closest of his movies to being just like a straight up drama, or
right.
Even a love story. It's a love story.
Yeah, it's a yeah. No, I agree.
I think that's why a lot of people, including myself, actually was kind of let down by it at first because it came right after Pulp Fiction, which Pulp Fiction is just like
I agree. I honestly, like I said, it ended up being, and we've had this discussion. It's for both of us, our top 3 or 4 films of Tarantino, we rank them about the same. But like I said, we'll save that for another discussion or another topic down the road, probably. But the first time I saw it, it's like my 3rd favorite Tarantino film. But the first time I saw it, I was like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, where's all the action? Where's all the violence? Where's all the, you just did.
Where's all the gimps?
Bring out the gimp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get Reservoir Dogs. You know what I mean? So it was, it was a little bit a slower paced film, at first, but when you watch it again, you know it's a Tarantino film. The dialogue in there and the characters and and that sort of stuff. So just a really really good film. So
yeah, it's very different from Pulp Fiction. It's more mature, more laid back, more just cool, I guess, in a way. Yeah. So,
I think the closest film that he's done to that one, I would say, at least for the first, 2/3 of the film, or however you want to say it, would probably be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where there wasn't a whole lot of, you know what I mean? Yeah, it was another one that was a little bit more, not quite as violent and that sort of stuff. So just more of a fun film. Hangout movie, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's my number 4.
Cool thing. My number 4 is actually going to be No Country for Old Men. Just a really, really great bag of money movie. It's got an excellent cast. Josh Brolin basically is the star. So is Tommy Lee Jones. Basically, Josh Brolin comes across probably the aftermath of a big shootout. And essentially finds a bag of money after the shootout and takes it. And so basically he takes it. There's a lot of different people that are looking for that money, and they come looking for him. And so he's on the run, and it's got Javier Bardem who plays the bad guy in this, and he is this Mr. Sugar, and he is just an excellent bad guy. One of my favorite all-time villains of all time. Searching for him, and it's just a really good, fun movie to watch. It's got a lot of twists and turns in it that I think throw some people off in some points, especially towards the end, because it kind of leads up to a certain way where you think it's going to end a certain kind of way, or you think you're going to get this big payoff that never quite materializes. But it's still a really, really.
You just don't get to see it.
What's that?
It does. You just don't get to see it.
Yeah. You just don't get to see it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is surprising.
Which is very surprising. So
yeah.
But it totally makes sense in the end. So
right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I love No Country for Old Men. I'm a big Coen Brothers fan. It's probably one of my favorite Coen Brothers movies. It's probably in their top half easily. I mean, I don't think I've ever gone through and ranked their movies, but it would be way up there for sure.
Yeah.
For all the reasons you mentioned. It's just a great movie. Yeah. In fact, my number 3 is No Country for Old Men. So we're our thinking is aligned on that one.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelengths. So yeah.
Yeah. but yeah, it's just like you mentioned, it's one of those. It involves a literal duffel bag overflowing with money, and Josh Brolin stumbles across it and has to make a decision. It doesn't seem like he struggles with it too much. You know, he's one of those guys that I don't think he's like an
No,
angel.
no,
He's
he,
not
he
a
didn't
saint.
wrestle with it.
No,
Definitely, he
he
was
did.
never. He didn't waffle with that one at all. He pretty much saw the bag of money and said,
And
"I'm
yeah, it's
taking
mine.
it.
Yeah,
This is
it's
my
mine.
opportunity to take this money." You know what I mean? So yeah, no, no,
Yeah,
I agree with you 100% on that. He definitely didn't waver on that one at all. So cool.
right, right. If there's
Glad
any,
that,
yeah,
yeah, I was just
the,
I'm
if,
glad we thought alike on that one.
yeah, yeah.
So that
So
was your number three, and
yeah.
then my number three is a movie that already was on the list, which is
Oh,
Jackie Brown. So,
so we
so
we
we got
just
a lot of
swapped it.
similarities. Yeah,
Yeah,
so a lot of similarities. So in this case, you got some great taste, and so far so good, you know. So, but
yeah. I always have great taste, but you know.
okay.
Yeah,
But
always, always.
no, no. So no, Jackie Brown once again is one of my favorite all time movies of all time. Like I said, it's in my top 50 films of all time, and another great example of a really great bag of money movie. As I think we talked about this before, but it's one of those movies where it doesn't necessarily start off with people fighting over the money in the beginning. It's more towards the latter half of the film, so a little different than say like No Country for Old Men, where you know that's almost one of the first scenes is them finding the money and then running off with it. This one comes a little bit later, but definitely there's a little bag of money that people are fighting over and trying to get their hands on for sure. So,
Right. Cool.
and that is my number three.
Okay. Cool. Cool. My number two of my top five bag of money movies is the Coen Brothers again with Fargo. So I don't. It's no secret that I love the Coen Brothers. I pretty much
Yeah,
love almost everything they've done, except maybe the Lady Killers. But it's yeah, it's probably my favorite Coen Brothers movie. Which, considering how much I like them, that's really saying something.
right,
So in this case, it's not a bag; it's a briefcase full of money. But once again, it's kind of bad people doing bad things to each other kind of movie, and I like those
right,
too. But William H Macy is great in this movie as a kind of just. It's a stupid criminals movie too. I like those. You know, there's no criminal masterminds in this movie. They're all kind of dumb. So
right.
that's always fun, and that's kind of a Coen Brothers thing also. But
Yeah,
he has his wife kidnapped for money, so he's trying to get the ransom from his father-in-law, and then the rest of the movie is about how his plan, his not exactly brilliant plan, unravels.
yeah,
And Frances McDormand won an Oscar for her role as Marge Gunderson, which is one of my favorite characters. But it's another movie kind of like Psycho in the sense that it shows the pointlessness of it all,
right,
the pointlessness of greed, I guess you could say, because ultimately, once again, nobody who is fighting over this money actually gets it.
right.
It ends up, not to get into spoilers here, but I mean, it is a 25-year-old movie, so, but it's ultimately the money is buried in the middle of nowhere, and then the one person who knows where it is. Well, something bad
You won't
happens
be
to
able to
him.
get it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
won't spoil that, but
he
the
ain't
one
coming
person
for
who
that
knows
money.
where
Let's
it
put it that way.
is, yeah, the one person who knows where it is um,
Yeah,
he's
he's
he's he's bad things happen to him. So
yeah,
so
he's he's definitely he's definitely going to be in pieces over that money for sure.
yeah,
But
yeah. So I mean, it's Fargo is kind of the same as in No Country for Old Men in that way too, because it shows that all this stuff happened, all this tragic, all this bloodshed
yeah,
happened
yeah.
for nothing, for
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah. Everybody, a lot of people die over something that should have never happened in the first place. You know what I mean, kind of thing. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. With that said, yeah, that's actually coincidentally that's actually my number two film as well. So
Oh,
it's
okay. All right. Cool. Yeah.
so yeah, I'm right there with you on that. So yeah, it is another really really good Coen Brothers movie, and I don't love them as much as you do. I think that. Fargo and obviously No Country for Old Men and a couple other films that I like, but they've always been a little hit or miss for me. That's just me personally. Some of the films I really love, some of them I don't. But hey, that's just me personally, But yeah, it's a great one. The acting's really good in there. William H Macy is really good in there. Francis McDormand, as you already alluded, is really good in there. I like Steve Buscemi's character in there as well. He's kind of funny in parts. But yeah, it's just a really, really cool, fun movie. And I literally just watched that movie last night. So yeah, or rewatched it. I've seen it before, obviously, but I literally just rewatched it last night. So yeah, so
it holds up.
It's really fresh in the brain.
Yeah.
Was that?
I said it holds up. I would say to put it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a movie that definitely holds up. It'll probably still hold up 20 years from now. It's one of those movies that definitely doesn't feel dated at all. And I think because it's not going to feel dated because it's set in up north in the cold weather where people talk with weird accents and that sort of stuff. So it's kind of foreign to most people that don't live in those regions. That it would never feel foreign just based on that. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah. Cool.
Well, that was my number 2.
Yeah,
so
cool.
We're already on number 1, I guess.
Yeah. We're on the same page more or less. But
until
my number 1, my number 1, I already know that we're not necessarily on the same page with. But in my opinion, the quintessential Bag of Money movie, the one that I think of that pretty much encompasses all the themes that I think of when I think of the things that I like about Bag of Money movies, and that is Sam Raimi's A Simple Plan. So, just to go into a little more detail, because this is probably one of the lesser known films that I'm talking about, but I think it's one that everyone should see. It's the quintessential Bag of Money movie in the sense that it's about these two brothers played by Bill Paxton and Billy Bob Thornton, and the kind of wild card third character played by Brent Briscoe, who they literally stumble across a crashed plane in the middle of the woods with the pilot dead and just a bag stuffed full of money that's obviously part of some kind of drug deal or something that was supposed to happen that didn't. And right away, you've got that kind of moral struggle because you've got Bill Paxton who says, we're going to do the right thing and turn this in. And then you got Brent Briscoe, who is, no, let's keep it. And then you got Billy Bob Thornton, who's kind of in the middle. Ultimately, of course, they decide to keep it because there wouldn't be a movie otherwise. And then all bad things happen from there on. But this is one of my favorite films. It's definitely, I think, Sam Raimi's best movie outside of the Evil Dead trilogy. But it really hammers home that whole theme of how decent people can be turned into bad people because of money and because of greed. And it brings this really great family tragedy element in it too, because they're brothers, but this kind of obviously puts a wedge in their relationship. And I'm not going to spoil it because I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen it, and I hope they do. But it's a tragedy. I think first and foremost it's a family tragedy that is started before the movie even begins, and that's you find out what happened with their father beforehand, and everything just works perfectly in this movie. I think the acting is phenomenal. The music is great. It's got that cool snowy atmosphere like Fargo does. The music, I don't know if I mentioned the music, but it's even the music is great. So that's one of my favorite movies. To me, it's a perfect thriller. It's a perfect Bag of Money movie, and that is A Simple Plan.
Yeah, we've gone back and forth on this one where I felt that this should be a movie that I for some reason should just love, but I don't. But I don't hate it. I did rewatch it because I figured when we brought up this topic of Bag of Money movies that you were gonna probably this one would make your list. I didn't know it'd be your number 1, but I figured it would definitely be in there. If nothing else, at least one of your runner-ups. But I knew you loved it a lot. So yeah, I did rewatch it over the weekend just to be up to speed, so I'd be able to confirm. It's still about the same for me, more or less. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's just not one that I really love personally. And I think for me, the main reason is just I didn't like any of the characters in there. For me, I didn't think that, and we disagree here, but I didn't think that any of them were really that likable. Even the wife, who's played by Fonda plays she plays a Bill Paxton's wife. The longer the movie went on, the less likable I felt like everybody became in that film, and that's probably kind of the point. But for me, that's just because that's what money will do to you. If you inherit a lot of money, you start doing very shady and dumb things and stuff like that. But toward by the end of it, I was just kind of almost sick of all of them. You know what I mean? And and then it was another one of those films where it was like, not to give any spoilers, but it was also like, well, what was the point? You know what I mean? Like, it was like another one of those what was the point kind of films, which, which a lot of people
that's
love.
The point, though. That is the what's the point is the point, I think.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the overall morality of it. Yeah, I mean, I definitely love movies where, maybe somebody gets away with the money or something like that, which doesn't always happen. And most of these films that doesn't happen, actually. It's usually the person that you hope ends up with the money doesn't always end up with the money, and that's usually the case with a lot of these films that are on this list. But yeah, this is another one of those what was the point kind of films. But like I said, it's not the worst film. I don't hate it. I just don't love it. Is all.
Okay.
So, yeah. Definitely not as much as you, but yeah, definitely wanted to check out if you're looking for a good bag of money film to watch that a lot of people haven't seen and you might not have seen. Then A Simple Plan is definitely a quintessential bag of money movie. I don't think any of the films on our list get really any closer to that. Maybe No Country for Old Men, maybe about the closest to like a quintessential bag of money where someone really finds a bag of money and that's the center focal point of the whole movie. That's probably the closest to that. Right. So, cool. My number one is actually in a different direction. It's not quite a complete bag of money movie, but it's actually going to be True Romance. And the reason why I say it's not a complete bag of money movie because they actually do find a bag of drugs, which they are in turn going to use to get money. It's got a lot of big stars in here. It's got Christian Slater in there and Patricia Arquette, and basically, he gets involved with Patricia Arquette, who is like kind of an ex-prostitute, if you will, goes over to collect her things from her pimp. And ends up getting into a scuffle and fight and ends up taking a bag. And in the midst of it, he doesn't look in the bag and there's a huge bag of drugs. And so they basically leave where they're at and leave out to Hollywood in order to find somebody that maybe wants to buy the bag of drugs for a bag of money, basically. And so that's kind of the focal point. The bag of money doesn't really turn up until towards the latter part of the movie, kind of similar to Jackie Brown in a way. But once that scene happens, there's a huge shootout scene that's one of my favorite all-time shootouts in history. It is just one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It is awesome. I believe the film was written by Quentin Tarantino. He didn't direct it, but he I believe he wrote it. And so there's a lot of that great dialogue in there. It's got a great story. It's got, like I said, one of the best shootout scenes. It's got one of the best hotel fight scenes I've ever seen in my life. It's just a lot of fun, and definitely one of my top. It's definitely my top 50 as well as far as of all time films. So great movie.
Yeah. It's an awesome movie. I love True Romance. It's not on my list because I didn't think of it in the same terms because it was like you said. It's like for 95% of the movie, it is a bag of drugs as opposed to money, but as far as what kind of movie it is, I call bag of money movies. It could be drugs, it could be gold, it could be diamonds.
Right. It's in that same vein though, where you basically have a bag that people are after. It's in that same kind of vein where people are after, and not to get too literal, but I mean obviously a bag of drugs represents a bag of money.
Yeah, it's
no one's consuming a giant bag of drugs by themselves. They're going to use it to sell or something. They're going to profit off of it in some kind of way. So it's kind of similar in that sense, I guess. So
yeah,
cool.
So yeah, good choice. Yeah.
Well, those were my top 5. You gave your top 5. I believe we do have a few runner-ups. I'll just run through a couple of my runner-ups and films that you guys might want to see. The next one that I had is U-Turn. Which is a really good gritty film. It's got a lot of big stars in there. Jennifer Lopez, one of the few films that I like her in. So,
yeah.
There hasn't been a whole. She used to make I felt like she made a lot of edgier stuff when she first, was getting known, and then kind of changed to like the more traditional romantic comedies and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But this was a really good, gritty film. Nick Nolte's in there, who's always pretty gritty in most of his films. It's just another one of those bag of money movies. Sean Penn obviously is a star in there. Definitely one that I recommend anybody check out is U-Turn. I also have the Ice Harvest on my list, which is another really good bag of money. Another movie that stars Billy Bob Thornton. Basically, this one is John Cusack.
Completely different character. Completely different kind of. I was just
yeah,
like,
he doesn't play.
Completely different kind of character.
Yeah, he's more of a simpleton than a simple plan. And this one, he's not. He's not slow or anything like that. He's pretty quick witted, but still not a very good guy. Overall. In this one, John Cusack, he works for a mobster he's a lawyer for a mobster. In this case, the mobster is Randy Quaid's character. And on Christmas Eve, he decides to actually rob his mobster boss of $2 million with the help of Billy Bob Thornton in the middle of a storm or whatever case may be. And so they rob him. They're supposed to leave town, but of course, everybody finds out about this money, and people are looking for it, and people are looking for them. So it's a really good one of those quintessential bags of money films where he literally has a bag of money that he's trying to hide, and people are looking for the bag of money. It's just a really fun film. Just didn't quite make my list, just missed it. Another one I had was Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. That's another really good one where basically two brothers low on cash, decide to rob their parents. This one was more of a bag of jewelry, but there is money involved in it. Yeah, but it's still kind of in that same vein where there's a lot of twists and turns, and another one of those what is the point of all of it kind of movies, like why go down this road.
Brothers, I just realized it's two brothers again. So it's like a family, drive the family apart.
There's some tragedy, things go bad, that sort of stuff. So and then there's one that I forgot to even mention that may have actually made my top 5 if I had thought of it before, and that was Bad Times at the El Royale. That's another one that I really like. It's a more recent one, and I had totally forgotten about that one. And that one is also a really big bag of money movie, also because it's literally. They're at a hotel, and there's literally a bag of money that's buried in the hotel.
You're right. Yeah.
Yes. So that was another one. I just thought about that one. So that was another one that probably would have, potentially could have made my top 5 as well. So I really enjoyed that movie also.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's cool you brought up. Yeah. So I really like Bad Times at El Royale also. I forgot all about that one.
I did too. It just hit my mind a few minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've only seen it once, but I loved it, and I just didn't remember that part of it, so I need to rewatch it again, obviously. So that I'm sure that would be on my runner-ups if I watched it again, which I own it. I buy movies and then I don't watch them for 10 years, so that's what I do.
I'm in the same boat. You've seen shows where I've come out when they're still in the shrink wrap. Fortunately, all these ones are not, because they're all my favorite movies of all time. But I've watched them all times. But a lot of times they are still in the shrink wrap. So same thing.
So and 3 of the ones that you mentioned would be definitely on my list too. Like U-Turn, I love U-Turn. I think it's great. That's a movie a lot of people don't really give a lot of credit to. A lot of people don't like that period of Oliver Stone's career, like Natural Born Killers and U-Turn, like the weird editing stuff. And I think those are my 2 favorite Oliver Stone films, probably. I mean, I love Platoon also. But
I love both of them, but I will admit that they're not for everybody. They're
for me though.
Are definitely an acquired taste. And specifically talking about U-Turn here, it's definitely an acquired taste. Not everybody's going to dig it, you know what I mean? But not everybody's going to dig all bags of money movies anyways, just because it's a lot of seediness. There's a lot of just, bad people in it. So, and most of them are like feel-good movies, you know what I mean? So if you like feel-good movies, and bags of money movies typically aren't going to be the movies for you.
Probably not. But I love U-Turn. I think it's a really underrated kind of forgotten 90s thriller that I think a lot of people should check out if they haven't heard of it. Another one, I also have Before the Devil Knows You're Dead on my runner-up list. like another one that was like tough to cut from the list. Uh, and also another. Speaking of '90s underrated thrillers, I really love The Way of the Gun with Ryan Phillippe and Benicio del Toro. That's it. Speaking of great shootouts, I think that's one of the all-time great shootouts at the end of that movie.
Yeah, I agree. And
Yeah.
that actually probably was on my runner-up list too. I could have went on with like 10 runner-ups though. So then,
Yeah. Oh, me too. Me too. And I think this might be stretching it a little bit, but I think Drive is, the 2011 Drive with Ryan Gosling. I think, it is the driving point of the movie is the money and how where it ends up and all that. And lastly, two different Danny Boyle movies, which would be Shallow Grave and Millions. Actually, if there is a feel-good bag of money movie, Millions would be it. It's almost like a children's film, but it's definitely not really a kids movie. There is some violence, but if there's any bag of money movie that involves all those things we talked about, as in like crime and morality and all that kind of stuff, but is ultimately a feel-good Christmas movie, again, it would be Millions. But I like that movie a lot. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. There you go. I could go on and on, but those were the ones that were.
Oh yeah. You can go all day with these, but yeah, those are some all pretty great choices. I own a lot of those ones as well. Drive is one of the ones that I really like. I didn't necessarily consider it to be a bag of money movie initially. It is. It's just as much of a bag of money movie as True Romance is, or some of the other ones for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, it's just one that didn't hit my radar initially as being a quintessential bag of money. And like I said, as we're talking, I started thinking about other ones like Bad Times at El Royale. I'm like, oh, that's totally a bag of money movie. You know what I mean? So yeah, you start thinking about other movies that would fall into that realm and category. So.
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, usually we would have another topic that we're going to be bringing up next week. I'm not for sure. We haven't quite settled on or decided on that, so we're going to still think about that. But you guys will just have to tune in next time and find out exactly what that next topic will be. We hope you like this channel. We hope that you enjoy listening to us babble on about movies. But we love a lot of movies. We watch a lot of movies, and we definitely want to have another show coming to you guys real soon. So we definitely, if you like this channel, we ask that you just please subscribe, like us on Facebook. Leave us a comment if there's a show that maybe you want us to talk about, or a topic that you want us to talk about, or movies to review. We're reviewing on it. We will even, potentially give you a shout out for suggesting it if we decide to go with that. We're not opposed to watching movies from other people that other people have suggested and that sort of stuff. But we just hope that you enjoy the content, and we continue to bring more content to you. We're obviously still working out some of the kinks. I think we're getting a little bit better. We had a little flub here today, but I think we corrected it pretty well, hopefully. And anything you wanted to add, Jason?
No, you pretty much covered it. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for watching. Please tune in next time. And like I said, once again, please like and subscribe. Thank you again.
Thank you.